Okay guys, I have a fun bonus activity for you. It can be done by any grade level, any age. It's a lot of fun. It's short and sweet and just very appropriate for the weather right now. So it's going to require very few materials: paper, pen, pencil, marker, anything like that. Some coloring materials, any kind you have at all: markers, color pencils, crayons, paint, whatever you want. And then the big material is dandelions, something you all probably have floating in your yard. We have a crazy amount of them. They seem to have popped up overnight, so many. So you're going to want some beautiful dandelions to look at and use for the artwork. So you could actually do this project outside with the dandelions laying in the grass, just enjoying the sun and the heat whenever we do have those beautiful days. Or you can bring them inside in the comfort of your own home. I'm going to take one dandelion and set it aside so that I can use it to look at for when I do my drawing part. We're going to use these, though, to do something kind of cool with this paper. Instead of using paint or any other color materials, we're actually going to use the yellow from the dandelion petals on the paper to get our yellow. So let me show you what you're going to do. You're going to take one dandelion, you're going to push it down, and you're going to kind of rub it in a circle motion, and it's going to create a really cool yellow smushed space. Now it does kind of swoosh the flower, so it's hard to get more than one done, but you can try, especially with maybe the bigger ones. But if I kind of squish it a little differently, I can get a little extra out of it. See, I got a little extra of that dandelion juice out of it. And you can do as many as you want. I recommend doing a bunch to fill up your page. And what's just so cool about this is that you are actually creating artwork using the very material that you're planning on drawing. So I have some bigger ones. Obviously a bigger flower is going to make a bigger circle because you have more petals and color to work with. And I'm going to just do at least one more over here. If some of the petals come off, that's fine. I'm pushing down and I'm making a circle pattern. And I'm trying to think if I want to do any more. Maybe I'll do one more up here, like a small one. And like I said, you can fill it up. You can just do one. You could do a couple. I think more look nicer than less. So I have a few smushed, kind of wrecked dandelions now. These are going to go back outside into the earth so they can decompose and kind of become back down to the ground. And then I'm going to keep this one beautiful one so I can look at it for my drawing part. So now comes my drawing stage. You could take anything you want. You could take a Sharpie, you can take a regular pen, you could take pencils, whatever. I'm going to use this pen so I can draw right on here. And I'm going to draw inside these yellow circles. They're not white, they're on a white paper. And I'm going to try to draw the textures I see for the petals. Now, dandelion flowers are filled with tons and tons and tons and tons of little petals. If you look real closely, you'll notice that they start off quite skinny and small in the center, and they get bigger as they get further out. So the center has very skinny little petals, and they get bigger and fatter and wider as they get further out. So I'm going to kind of be thinking about that as I'm drawing my textures here. So let's zoom in a little bit so you can see how I'm creating some of these textures. And we'll just start with this one up here. So I'm going, and there's really no right or wrong way. This is up to you and how you want to create your textures. So I'm just doing some straight lines to begin with, trying to make them look skinny. And I'm going to do them in a circle pattern. This is called a radial pattern. We're doing a radius, a circle. And now that I'm getting to be a little bit further out, I'm going to start making them look a little bit more like V shapes, more like petals, because I want to show that the petals are getting bigger. And like I said, if you end up just doing little dashes over the whole thing, that's fine. But what's really going to help make these feel like they are dandelions is the radial petals. So if you just kind of do scribbles all over, it's not going to feel very much like a dandelion. So I'm going to keep going until I want to stop. I can go outside the yellow, or I can stay inside the yellow, however I want to do it. And I'm kind of skipping a little bit here and there because they're not perfect. You see how sometimes there's some spaces in between the petals, and some are bigger gaps and some are smaller gaps. So I'm just kind of trying to show that by doing some lines that are sort of separated and aren't perfect. And there's my first dandelion. And I'm going to continue that texture on all of these. I'm not going to show you all of them right now. We're going to finish one, and then I will show you the finished product when it's done. Then I'm going to do a stem and maybe even some leaves. Now I can have all of my dandelion leaves connect together into one bouquet, or I can have them individually be just sitting all over the page. And I think I'm going to decide as I go along. So I'm going to do a skinny little stem. Looking at this, it's a skinny stem, and I didn't bring in any leaves to look at and examine, but if you bring in some leaves, that would be a great idea so you can see what shape they are. I am going to do it from memory, from what I know about dandelions, and that is that the leaves are not perfectly curvy. They have a lot of jagged edges, so I'm going to kind of create a petal shape using some jagged edges here. It's a little bit rough. I'm going to do the center line of my leaf, and I could add whatever else details I want. Now, if I, like I said, if I had the real leaf in front of me, I'd be able to really look at the details and do a really good job. And I'm having it end here because I don't want it to hit into my next one, which is going to be right below it. So I'm making sure I stop a little before it. And once you've done that with all of your dandelions, cap your marker. The next thing you're going to do is add some color to this. So you can add color with, like I said, whatever you want. Crayons, colored pencils, marker, chalk, whatever you have on hand. I'm going to be using good old markers. And I'm going to take a couple different colors, a couple different shades of green. Most things in nature are not just one color. Even these yellows, if you actually look at them closely, there's some light yellow, dark yellow. There's different variety of yellows when you look at it. Some of them, are, like the center is more of an orangey yellow and the outside's more of a bright, bright yellow. So most things in nature are not just one color. Even these stems, look at this light green and then kind of like this reddish brown on some parts. So I'm going to go in here and color in my leaf and my stem with my marker, but you could use color pencil, crayon, you could use paint, you could turn this marker into paint. Remember, we've talked about that many times, about how to do that. So I could do any of those things that I wanted. I could add some water to this right now and blend it out to make it look like more like watercolor. I'm going over some parts to make them look a little bit darker. So however you want to do it. And I'm going to speed ahead now so you can see me with my finished product, and then we'll talk about how they're going to be done. Before I move on to show you how I'm finishing the color, I just wanted to point out that even if you don't have any coloring materials, let's pretend you don't have any markers, crayons, or color pencils, you could still make a really cool drawing by using the yellow from the dandelion and then just inking or doing it in pen or pencil the rest of the leaves and the body. And even if you cover this part up, it still looks really pretty just having these beautiful sort of black and white drawings with these pops of yellow. So even if you don't have color, that is fine. Now, marker worked well. I gotta tell you, I really enjoy the look of watercolor though. And so if you have watercolor, that's great. If you don't and you like using the marker watercolor technique, here's my marker palette, which is just foil with marker on top. And putting some fresh marker down so I have some new colors to use. And I'm just going to use my brush and paint, use the marker as paint to finish the rest of these. Again, you do not have to do this. You can do this however you want. Black and white. You could add, see, I just like the lightness of it. You could add color pencil, which would be really good for getting into details and stuff. You could do crayons, whatever works for you. So I'm just going to finish this up and I will be right back. So here you can see I finished. I filled in everything with some green. I did a little light green and then I did some dollops of dark green on top while it was still wet so it would bleed a little bit. You can also, after it's dry or even before it's dry, you can go back in and do some more details. So if I wanted to go back in and just really make some of these lines and details more defined, I could do that just like I just did. However you want to do this. And then you can leave it at that. This is your finished, beautiful finished piece of work. And like I said, you could have it all just be on the ground, or you could have some floating in the air. You could do them all connecting together into one bunch, however you think would look good. And the nice thing is that you can redo this as many times as you want because you're not wasting a whole lot of materials. You're just using a lot of these dandelions. So I hope you guys had fun doing this. I hope you share with me all your beautiful finished pieces, and happy art making.